There's mixed emotions here with this one, and the only reason there's mixed emotions is it's sad that LaRussaPalooza as a segment is going away. That is
Oh,
that is a that
you
is
took
where my sadness comes
you
from.
took the words out of my mouth because that's how I was going to open this. Like this is the last time I think that I get to use my favorite drop that I've ever created, the intro for LaRussaPalooza.
I mean, maybe by chance, I have a strange feeling because he's an egomaniac. He'll be in the news, so
He'll find his way in somehow.
we might be able to dust that off occasionally throughout the baseball season.
I
But
might just make up reasons to drop it in every so often.
maybe we could have this day in Tony La Russa history.
Oh, nice. Yeah, go over the last two ridiculous years. What happened
Oh
on those
God,
dates?
no! I don't want to. We'll go further back,
Okay.
further
All right.
back. But as Smitty said,
That's me.
we've been trying to do this. I'll transparency. I started a new job, so my schedule's been kind of crazy and a bunch of kid stuff. So we're here,
I had a
and
dentist appointment in there that screwed things up. It's not all you.
yeah, I mean, but we would be remiss, even though this is like older news now, if we did
Yeah.
not talk about this and give our thoughts on it.
Oh, we're going to talk about it.
So I'm going to this isn't going to be as dramatic as Slider Slide.
Yeah, please don't do the weird accent or whatever you had going for that.
I'm not going to read it as a thespian, but or whatever I was. But I'm going to start reading it, and as you interrupt when you want to make a comment, I'll obviously
I'm
be
sure
pausing.
you've got some comments.
I have some thoughts, so here we go. This is the official statement released by Tony La Russa.
It'd be great if you did a good Tony La Russa impression. I haven't really heard anyone do a good one.
I don't think we'll be able to really understand it because it'd be like a lot of
mumbling and
no. I mean, here I'll just do the first sentence and then as Tony. This February, I had a pacemaker installed, and
it's kind of Bill Belichick actually.
Was cleared by okay, we'll stop. Never mind.
Okay.
All right, anyway. All right, here we go.
Let's start over.
The real reading of this. Okay. This February, I had a pacemaker installed and was cleared by my doctors to begin spring training as scheduled.
Thank you.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
A periodic check of the device later identified a problem. Okay.
Yep. This is all things we've talked. That was speculated. We talked about it. That makes sense.
During batting practice on August 30th, surprise, surprise, I was informed of the issue, taken out of uniform, and tested by doctors the next day. Now, I don't know about you, but the phrasing of that, I just picture Rick Hahn like changing him like a baby. Like he's taking him out of the uniform.
Get out of there.
We got to get you to the doctor.
Wiping his ass.
Taking you out of uniform.
The baby wipes.
I'm taking you out of uniform. I don't know.
Maybe that's what they were talking about when you were recklessly speculating about the posture and the wild gesturing of Rick Hahn while the photos taken of them on the field.
Yes, it looked animated.
Yeah, maybe Tony was like objecting to Rick telling him, "I need your uniform immediately."
That's what it was. Hand it in. You're out, sucker. Continuing, the solution was to update the pacemaker in Arizona and for me not to return as manager without medical clearance. Okay, so
that makes sense.
We know this.
This would have been all good to hear, like at the time, instead of for 2 weeks, like no one really understanding what was going on. He could have released at least that part of the statement at that moment.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything terrible about that.
I mean,
I don't understand why a public person would keep that private. There's nothing private about that to me, especially since he decided to release it anyway.
It's his prerogative, but still, it would have. I mean, he is a public figure that his presence or lack thereof had a major impact on that baseball club and all of its fans. So we have lots of people are going to want to know what the fuck was going on. We all speculated. Fortunately, a lot of that came out, and we were actually, I think most of the stuff we read was accurate because I don't feel like anything he said there refuted anything we've said on this podcast in previous episodes. So,
this is where it gets kind of weird. the second paragraph to
Okay.
me. Because now the timeline moves back again. Now we're
Yeah, he
going to
kind of
move back.
jumped around. Yeah.
We're going to go back in time. It's almost as if he's like in his mid 70s or something. During an annual private exam after the first of the year, a second health issue was also diagnosed.
So this is interesting because this is around the pacemaker time. So he's talking about
Yes.
the first of the year. It's almost like it's before the pacemaker, but he's calling it a second issue. Maybe because he
Yes.
referred to the first one after his timeline is interesting. But yes,
Yes.
I think we know. I think we know what's going on at least. But
Yeah. I decided to delay confronting it until the off season. While I was inactive with the pacemaker, the second issue was analyzed. The result is that a corrective plan has been developed by my medical team and implementation has begun. I informed the White Sox of this second issue while I was out of uniform
in the nude,
dealing with the pacemaker. So we know Rick successfully got him out of the uniform, and
well, he likes to inform the White Sox while he's in the nude of all his medical situations.
That's right. I forgot.
That's what I took from this.
Yes, I am naked, and I'm informing you. It's quite breezy. As I have stated previously, I continue to request privacy related to my health issues and appreciate those who have respected that request.
This is where I'm calling bullshit. I mean, he had the issue before the pacemaker even. This is the second issue, which is really the first issue. And he decided not to do anything about it. Then magically, while he has this pacemaker issue, this original issue is so dire that he has to not be the White Sox manager anymore. So his timeline is confusing. The logic is confusing. Again, it's not that big a deal. It's a man's medical issues are not anything we need to pine over. He's just too fucking old is what those two paragraphs could have come down to. Is you shouldn't have hired a 78-year-old manager because you're going to have health issues.
I'll go back to a conspiracy theory. Perhaps he didn't really tell them in January, and he broke the news to Rick on the field as he got the news about the pacemaker. And Rick's like, "You couldn't have fucking told me this in January?"
Led to wild gestures. Yes, I could see that. That's plausible now.
Get your ass out of here.
Get your tinfoil hat on.
There's one more. More sentence to that. My overall prognosis is good, and I want to thank everyone who has reached out to me with well wishes related to my health.
Yeah, everybody wishes him well. I mean, everyone had to give that disclaimer before we are terribly critical of his performance. Well, we don't want the fucker to die, but
so now, here's the plausible deniability of his health and managing. At no time this season did either issue negatively affect my responsibilities as White Sox manager.
It was just his general incompetence. None of the medical issues affected that.
Exactly. His just ability to fall asleep in the dugout on a moment's notice. However, it has become obvious that the length of treatment and recovery process for the second health issue makes it impossible for me to be the White Sox manager in 2023.
Again, I mean, I think that's very convenient that they can blame it on a medical issue, but that's fine. I mean, the net result is he's not your manager next year.
Yes, the net result is good. The timing of this announcement now enables the front office to include filling the manager position with their other offseason priorities. Oh,
quite convenient.
Thank you so much, Tony.
As opposed to early September or mid-season where other managers were fired across Major League Baseball which teams are now competing in the league championship series as we speak.
Oh, I know. Every time I see the Phillies advance another round, I cringe. Not because I have anything against them, because they acted at the right time.
We'll get to that, but yes, that ties in nicely with our full conversation tonight.
I mean, seriously, the last sentence I just read really gets under my skin.
Yeah.
And the reason it gets under my skin is like it doesn't even need to be said. You're not doing anyone any fucking favors. You would have done a fucking favor if you had the balls to tell Jerry, I'm in no condition to manage a baseball team anymore.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
So, fuck off. Anyway, our team's record this season is the final reality. It is an unacceptable disappointment.
It sounds like a horror movie franchise or something. The final reality.
TLR, the final reality.
It is the Halloween season, so maybe
It
that's where my
is.
mind is going.
There were some pluses, but too many minuses. Now, all the pluses occurred after he left.
Yeah, what
So,
pluses is he talking about?
outside of Dylan Cease.
Yeah,
So,
he'll take credit for that.
in the major leagues, you either do or you don't.
I like that.
Explanations come across as excuses.
Totally agree with that.
Respect and trust demand accountability. And during my managerial career, I understood that the ultimate responsibility for each minus belongs to the manager.
Well, that's interesting because we've talked about accountability and responsibility throughout this year, and there doesn't seem to be any at least for the 2022 season. So it's funny that he talks in those terms at this point.
Yes. I was hired to provide positive, difference-making leadership and support. Our record is proof I did not do my job. I agree.
Yeah, can't argue with that. There.
All right. The 2020 and 2021 seasons were important positive steps for this organization, ending with playoff baseball. I take pride in the 2021 season because our team dealt with the pressure of being labeled as favorite by earning a division championship and posting winning records in each of the season's 6 months.
The second point is fine. Winning records in each of the 6 months, that's cool.
Cares?
But dealing with the pressure, fuck you. That's your job. That's what everyone's job is, no matter what the expectations are.
And yeah,
it's ridiculous. Patting yourself on the back for that.
He left out the first round departure again.
That's magical. Brilliant. That's a savvy old manager right there.
Crafty. In 2022, we have some movement in the wrong. Yeah, we have some movement in the wrong direction.
That's a really interesting way to put that. You fucking failed is another way to put that, but some movement in the wrong direction.
The key now is to figure out what is right versus what is wrong. Well, we kind of got part of it figured out.
We got down to a lot of it right there.
He gone. I'm convinced that the process will be productive and the players will be receptive. The future for this team remains bright. I don't disagree with that statement. I
completely disagree.
Yeah, oh, that's fine. But like, I don't see any reason why a different manager with the paper talent on the team, if he can get what he's supposed to get out of those guys and they can keep them on the field, why they wouldn't be back in the playoffs next year. But that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, I think we can break that down in the off season. Yes.
Yeah. All right. This thing's still going.
Oh,
At no time have I been disappointed or upset with White Sox fans, including those who at times chanted "Fire Tony."
This is where I picture him like if he was as cool as Ozzie Guillen, he would have bought one of our Fire Tony t-shirts and wore it in a press conference.
Right.
Addressing that. I think when he said that, like, he's fully aware of what was going on. He's obviously hearing the crowd, as there is some speculation that he may not be hearing the crowd, or there was when that one guy in the front row. I was going to say
someone managed the game for him.
Yeah, exactly. So he's definitely hearing the crowd. There's no doubt about that. But yeah, I thought that was funny that he even brought that up, and specifically the Fire Tony.
Yeah. I feel like he did it. I feel like he addressed that in a press conference at some point.
Basically
basically saying the same thing he says in this sentence. They come to games with passion for our team,
sure,
and a strong desire to win.
I've heard other managers say things like that. I just never heard them reference like direct cheers against them. Maybe it hasn't happened that often, but I think it's remarkable that he did actually reference the exact Fire Tony chant, which is, I think that's cool in a way. The only way he could have been cooler, like I said, if he bought one of our t-shirts at aesthetics.shop, the Fire Tony t-shirt that we have available.
Yes, you should go. Everyone listening should go buy one right now. Buy two, actually. Get it as a present for Christmas. It's
Oh
time to
yeah,
stock up
Christmas is
on these.
coming. There
Christmas
you
is
go.
coming. Um, Loud and excited when we win. Oh God, I'm getting into the Dylan Cease voice. They
Easy.
rightly are upset when we play poorly. Okay, yeah. A great example of this support came in Game 3 of last year's division series. No disrespect intended to any of the other teams and their fans, but that was the most electric crowd I ever experienced.
Because a Kane guy. I mean that fucking wizard, whatever he was doing, produced the electricity that Tony has never seen before. Dude
um,
was terrifying.
all right, we're almost at the end of this, by the way.
Thank Christ.
Finally, I am sincerely disappointed that I am leaving without the opportunity to finish what I was brought in to do. So
That's an
are we.
interesting way. I would have, if he could have just removed the word the opportunity, I would have agreed with that statement completely. Read that. Can you do me a favor and read that one sentence again? Just don't say the opportunity.
Okay, yes. Let
See
me
how
do
that
that for
reads.
let me do that for you. All right. Check 1 2, we good? All right. Finally, I am sincerely disappointed that I am leaving without the no, I'm gonna review, I'm gonna redo it again, removing a few words, because then
Okay.
it doesn't make, yeah. Finally, I am sincerely disappointed that I am leaving without finishing what I was brought in to do.
That I would agree with. But when he talks about the opportunity, he had the opportunity to he had 2 years to do this and he did not. So
Yes.
it's kind of I don't know. I don't like how he worded that, but it's splitting hairs a little bit now.
I still appreciate the chance to come back home to the White Sox and leave today with many more good memories than disappointments. Hmm.
Mm, that's
Debatable.
interesting.
That's a glass half full, or a glass a quarter full, and you call it half.
What did he say? Do
Uh,
or do not, like Yoda? What did he
yeah,
say
yeah.
earlier? Like either
There
you
is no
do or you
try, only
don't.
do.
Yeah, I mean, you're either successful or you're not. I mean, it's binary. He said it.
Well,
I mean, at least in his mind. So,
he's got more good memories than bad ones. I don't know
all
how, but
right.
because pretty much from the everything was bad from the first round departure on
Yeah.
in the playoffs, pretty much.
He's also famous for like anytime reporters or anyone would see him on a game day or whenever, before the game, they would ask, "Hey, how you doing, Tony?" I don't know. I'll
That's
tell you
what.
after the game.
Yeah, exactly. That's
So
his
it's like,
line.
yeah. So this is kind of, suddenly he's very circumspect and has perspective on everything. That there are more good times than bad times overall. But for a guy that, I mean, he's just kind of contradicting himself. But again, I'm splitting hairs, kicking the guy on the way out the door.
One last sentence, thank God.
Yeah.
As I have said many times during my career, no manager has ever had more good fortune than I have. Thank you.
Yeah. Um, I think that closes the book on Tony La Russa. I mean, what's next? I guess the only things that are left for speculation is he going to have a position within the organization somehow? Is he
I don't think so, because I don't think he's allowed to have any baseball duties, quote unquote, because
well?
of his lingering medical issue.
Well, I mean, he could be a consultant from his couch in Arizona. Who knows? There's lots of things. I just hadn't seen anything where he's actually been removed from the organization. So I think there will be some more clarity on that. But is he, an advisor to the manager to be? Is he going to be, Tony and Jerry have that long relationship that has fucked up the last 2 seasons for you guys. I can't.
I think he's out though.
I mean, we heard the speculation about him moving to the front office or to some capacity. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. And I guess I just haven't seen anything that says he's 100% gone and we'll have no contact with him, like he was fired essentially. But I don't know. I think we'll hear more about that as things progress.
Yeah. I mean, I guess he did. I guess he does say over and over again that he can't return to his managerial duties. So
Right.
it does leave the door open. He
Yeah, I
doesn't
mean,
say.
Christ, he flew to like Oakland for that one series right after the incident and
I
was
know
there
that
for
was
Dave
strange.
Stewart's. Yeah, he was fine. So I don't know. I find a lot of this disingenuous or confusing
Maybe
or
maybe he'll throw out the first
conflicting.
pitch. Throw out the first pitch for opening day.
I hope he does, because I will definitely, that'll give me the opportunity to play that drop again.
So
Will they chant "Fire Tony" when he comes
uh,
out?
I'm pretty sure they will actually, because usually opening day by the first pitch, it's pretty saucy if you know what I mean. Um,
I've seen it.
so the White Sox need to fill the manager vacancy. So I
Yeah,
thought you had mentioned before we went on the air that you're obviously not here, and you, as I would expect, really haven't been following this with bated breath like someone like I might be.
I really
So
haven't.
yeah, so the Sox have interviewed some people already, and there is speculation that there will be an announcement by the end of the month. So that's only
Mm.
a little over a week away. Um, so one, I'll start out by saying Sandy Alomar Jr. has not been interviewed, and I think
That's
that's
your
a
number
huge.
one. That's your
That
number
was
one candidate.
that was my number one candidate until I was shocked that they actually went out and interviewed Joe Espada, the Houston bench coach, who's been to 4 ALCSs in the last 4 years and been part of a winning culture. And I
Mm.
have to
Much like
say,
AJ Hinch.
yes.
That's
Now that
interesting.
hasn't translated for Detroit yet, but um, there, I like the idea of bringing that. I want them to bring someone who's been part of a winning culture and recently. You know what I mean? Not 15
Not
years
from
ago. Yeah.
1989 or 2011.
Yeah. So I like that. Rumored to be the front runner. He also interviewed for the Marlins vacancy. I would assume the White Sox vacancy would probably be a little more attractive, but you don't know. The
That's
Marlins are
interesting.
the Marlins are trending upwards.
They've got a rotation there that might be
Yeah.
interesting for years to come.
So um, another name on the list, which does not excite me, is Pedro. I think it's Greffel or Greifel, the KC bench coach.
Ooh.
Take a hard pass on that.
Got to
No
get that
one,
KC stink off of you.
yeah, no one
Well, you don't
working.
need that.
No one working in that organization right now excites me on any level.
Mm.
So he'll probably be the next manager.
Mm.
Um, Other guys that have been talked about, there's not total. I believe they did interview Ron Washington, which I don't
The
think would be a.
cocaine cowboy.
Yeah.
I would love that. I'd have a field day with with that, at least that one indiscretion in his recent past for an older man to have a cocaine issue in his, was he in his 60s at that point? This is quite a while. This is back on the blog before we started the
this
podcast,
was
but
back when he was with Texas, right?
yeah, I think he was the
Yeah.
manager for Texas and had to apologize
Yeah.
for being caught with either he had some cocaine on him or what was going on, but it's kind of strange.
Um,
But he's an awesome baseball guy. Like, he's had a
well,
job forever, and everyone loves him, and it's interesting. I believe he's in his 70s now, though, so it's kind of you'd be going down the similar path
yeah.
with La Russa, although La Russa doesn't have a cocaine issue that we know of, but
Drinking.
maybe that's the second issue. I don't know.
But the thing with Washington is he's been the fielding instructor. That's his job
Mm.
in Atlanta, and they are tight.
Yeah,
They field as good as any team in baseball. So that end of it
that makes
gets
sense.
me excited. So, and who even knows, maybe one of these guys they hire can lure him away to be our fielding coach. You never know how these managerial and coaching ties,
Oh yeah.
you know, how they weave their way through. A name that you will love to hate is ex-Cards manager Mike Schultz is
Oh,
on the
Schilt.
list. He's on the list too.
We could have a
But
Schilt show.
yeah, we could have a Schultz show. I'm kind of indifferent about that.
I I think
he wasn't terrible as their
I don't
manager.
think he was very good. He was just another curmudgeon kind of like Mike Matheny, just in the typical Cardinals way. Yeah, I think I think that'd be fun for us to talk about if that happens. I think we'd have fun with that, but I don't know much about his resume other than he failed in his short time in St. Louis. So
Yeah. Yeah, but he's not. The three that have been interviewed for confirmed are Espada, Greffel, and Washington.
okay.
The other two names that remain, which is hilarious. One is Joe Madden.
I've heard that.
Um,
He's been on the
but
radio a lot lately too, kind of
but
campaigning.
he's basically said, "Someone call me because all these rumors don't mean crap because no one's called me."
Right.
And I don't really want
He's
Joe
starting to
Madden.
sound more embittered every time I hear him on the
I
radio.
know, right?
He's like
He's like,
about the direction of baseball, how the front offices just want a push button guy with no personality, and he's done with it.
yeah,
So
yeah. I
he also just wrote a book, so I think he's kind of got his exit strategy planned out already. Not that he needs any more money, considering how much the Cubs have paid him for his 5 years. Yeah, that'd be just hilarious if somehow he ended up on the south side, but I don't see it.
But I saved this one for last because reports are coming in. Bruce Levine broke, because I don't know if he broke this, but he announced this the other day that
He likes to
according to
break
his
shit.
according to his sources, Ozzie Guillen has not been ruled out as return to manager for the White Sox next season.
We'll get to Bruce here in a minute, but I think he likes to play this stuff up. That might be I think he might be like the classic reporter's way of kind of playing words against his sources or whoever said something. They didn't rule him out, but they're certainly not considering him at the same time. It seems like
Right.
such a long shot at this point, and it's a great way for Bruce to get some clicks on whatever story he's been writing. So we'll
It's
see.
shared. It's shared out on Sox type thing.
Yeah, yeah, we'll see more of Bruce's handiwork in a little bit here, but
Yeah.
that's interesting.
The story took a little bit of another turn when Willie Harris, who I believe is what, the third base coach for the Cubs.
He
Is he
is
still with the Cubs? Yeah. He said, "Well, I certainly would come
beloved
and
third base
I
coach of the Cubs.
well
Very demonstrative. He's hilarious.
he's ready to leave because he is going to come and join Ozzy as bench coach, as he said he
Ah,
would do if Ozzy asked him."
now
So
that's a dynamic duo right there.
yeah, so that was interesting. I think thus, letting the story sort of gain some probably unsubstantiated steam here in the windy city, which has been very windy lately.
Mm.
Um, so that's that. I mean, obviously Espada to me is
Just because the
the
Houston connection.
the Houston connection. Been
I
in
can't fault you for that because I made the same arguments about AJ Hinch, even though he was almost universally blamed for the cheating scandal, which I thought was rather unfair. But yeah, I had the similar thoughts with a very progressive, successful organization to poach their top talent,
yeah.
managerial talent. That's it's not a bad move. I can't criticize the White Sox if that's the direction they go. I don't know a ton about him specifically. You said he's been with the organization for 4 years.
Yeah, 4
Last
years.
four.
So yeah.
Okay.
So
Thought
that's
it'd be
about
fun
all
to
I know about him.
yeah.
um, before we move on to another interesting story, which you teased out at the intro, I have a bit of a Bob Nightingale theory
Mm.
that I started going back and looking at the type of like White Sox news that Bob got correct, and
Oh,
most of it surrounded, when Bob really started breaking White Sox stories, it really centered around La Russa getting hired as manager, right?
okay. Well, he's
And
had long time connections with Jerry specifically. So I don't have specific examples, but I feel like he's been kind of an insider for breaking Sox news nationally for quite a while, just because of that connection potentially. But
Yeah, not always accurately
Well,
though.
yeah, very inaccurately, but
But everything he talks about with La Russa is accurate. And I started to speculate, is Bob really and because of Jerry's connection with Tony, obviously I'm sure Jerry calls Tony sometimes and says, "What do you think about this?" Is Bob Nightingale really a TLR insider?
that's
And
interesting.
his news is coming from the TLR camp in White Sox related things. Because one thing he's been 100% right on, he he said everything correctly about when everyone was speculating what was going on with Tony. He's the only one who really spelled out what was happening in that article. He's the only one who knew.
That's
So
interesting.
so is it like that connection, like 1 degree removed, from the White Sox, but still connected to the White Sox?
Yeah,
So
there's nothing stopping Tony from being friends with Nightingale and just having chit chats here and there. And you can release this now and you can release this later. Can't talk about this now.
yeah, and
That's
they all
interesting.
live in Arizona together.
I was wondering about that. I knew Tony was in Arizona. I was going to ask you if you knew where Nightingale resided. For
He's
some
in
reason,
Air.
I had Arizona in my head for some reason. So yeah,
Yeah,
that makes sense.
I think it's because
They're probably fucking neighbors.
earlier in the
Del
year,
Boca Vista.
earlier in the year, Stone said he had texted them because they were neighbors. I talked about it during Sox type thing. That's probably
Oh,
why,
interesting.
because they hang out sometimes too.
Okay.
So
It's a
yeah,
little click over there going on
yeah,
in Arizona. Little
little
sewing circle.
a little golfing circle
Yeah.
there. So yeah, so that was my final thought on the White Sox outside of what a this is by far this is my final thought, and I said it earlier, but this is the number one. I doubt there will be in my lifetime a more disappointing season
Mm.
for the White Sox based on what was supposed to occur and what actually occurred. So
Well, hang in there, buddy. We'll get through this. Fortunately, we have a podcast. Hopefully, it's a cathartic experience for you. Get through these sad times for your White Sox. Maybe it makes you feel better that it has been much worse for the rest of the teams that we cover on in the whole here. So I'm sure you get some joy out of that at least. But
well, there's a little joy that I'm no worse than you. So
yeah, so it makes me feel better. We're all equally shitty, essentially,
yeah,
in different ways.
I mean, this is by far the shittiest year on this podcast.
Yeah, it's getting hard to do podcasts. Actually, it took us 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks to get back to this one. So,
I don't know. I'm a little busy. I got to do my nails. Maybe tomorrow.
Word Hole Media.